Yes, sir! It's the FCS CheckDown. Nathan McCreary, Coach Ron Jackson, and Brandon Joseph bringing this one to you. It is a very special episode. We hope everybody had a very Merry Christmas, by the way. We are dedicating this episode to the Montana State Bobcats. Obviously, Montana State and Illinois State play in the championship game in Nashville on January 5th. Should be a great one. We're excited about it. We wanted to really love on these two programs and the FCS because, dang, they don't get enough attention for the quality. I mean, that Montana State game was something else, and Illinois State's trucking through the road wins is unbelievable. So we're going to love on Montana State tonight. We have their SID, Bill Lamberty, going to be joining us here shortly, and then it will be Coach Vigen himself coming on to talk Montana State football. Excited to have you guys on. At the end of the show, we also have Giovanni joining us, who's a fan of FCS and been listening to the show. So he's going to come on and talk about his perspective of what he thinks as far as Montana State and the national championship, the FCS championship. So, Brandon, how the heck are you? How was Christmas? You got little ones now. It must have been exciting.
Yeah, tons of fun. Nothing like unwrapping gifts for seemingly 12 hours. And then
what about the wrapping part?
Oh yeah, I don't wrap gifts. That's my department. That ain't my department. Never been my department. Never will be my department. So yeah, everything was copacetic. Kids had a great time, and the best part is the 26th when they go. Is Santa coming back? And the 27th when they go, we want more gifts. Yeah, and you have to explain to them you're the furthest point away from Christmas, and you will be. So yeah, it's just a lot of that, and my wife's birthday is today, so
hey, well, happy birthday to Caitlin. Yeah. All right.
Yeah. So she gets robbed on the Christmas birthday spectrum. So we took the kids to the Georgia Aquarium and became nice members of the Georgia Aquarium. So if the Georgia Aquarium's listening to sponsor this podcast,
you're welcome to sponsor us. We'd love to have
offset some of the costs that we had to spend to go become members of the Georgia Aquarium.
The Georgia Aquarium Player of the Week. Hey, we're open for all that good stuff. Well, I know you, and I know you didn't jip your wife out at her birthday, so I'm sure she's having a great one. I'm glad the kids had a good one. She got
everything she wanted: a spatula and a pizza cutter.
What else do you need? I mean, honestly, what else do you need? Coach Jackson, I know you kids are grown, but they're home. Your kids are hiding stuff under the table for Christmas? How the heck was your Christmas holiday?
You know what, dude? I'm as fine as frog hair split four ways. We've had a fantastic holiday. Now, the Ryan and his fiance, they left back a little bit earlier, headed back to Richmond, so they'll get back here in a couple of hours. They want to spend a little time Monday on their own, and then he'll get back in the coaching business on Tuesday, and then that leaves me and my wife. My daughter's got to go back to work tomorrow, thank the good Lord, and so we're gonna spend a little time. She's got a couple of massages. She don't have to go back till mid January, I believe. So probably do a little traveling here in the next couple of weeks too.
Nice. Well, that sounds great. That sounds great. Both my daughters were in town from college, and we had an absolute blast. And of course, sweet Elizabeth spoiled me, and I tried to spoil her best as I could, as she deserves every bit of it. So, well, let's jump right into this. This is our Montana State episode, guys. I mean, listen, me and Coach Jackson, the chat has been awesome. We had over 1,500 views on the last show that showed that they're growing. And if you like the show, please like and subscribe to the show. It makes a huge difference. We're trying to get to 500. I think with Coach Jackson, you said we're just above 250, maybe 220 or something like that. I can't remember.
246, 250, somewhere in there. If we get to 500, I'm liable to do country ham biscuits for whoever's the 500.
Let's go. Hey, That is a treat, no doubt about it. But if you do like the show, please like and subscribe. Please keep commenting. We love all the good and the bad comments. Me and Brandon both were in there kind of picking at each other and picking at some of the comments as well. So please.
At the end of the day, it's football, really. And we're not saving the world here. We're just
It's all in good fun. We absolutely do love it. It's so funny. As I say, make sure you like and subscribe. I see the little thumbs pop going across my screen. So thank you, chat. Thank you guys listening live, viewing live. It is a real treat to have you aboard. We're going to talk about this Montana State program and obviously a team that has been just a dominating force, had to beat Montana twice in the Brawl of the Wild. I mean, Coach Jackson, just real quick, just give me your initial thoughts on this football team and how they have gotten here and what you've been impressed with.
Well, to me, the most impressive thing is I thought they'd take a little bit of a step back after losing what they lost last year, and they're better this year than they were last year, and potentially they're probably going to be a little bit better next year than they are this year, or at least that's what it looks like to me. They are just a professional. I don't want to say professional, just a well coached, well balanced, just a juggernaut of a football team that's got it rolling right now.
13-2 on the season, Brandon. 8-0 in the conference. 9-1. They're on a 13-game win streak. They lost to Oregon 59-13 in that very first game of the season in Eugene. But since then, they have just been a force. I mean, just fun to watch. Justin Lamson is their quarterback. We're going to do a deep dive in him, and as well as Taco Dowler. But just this team, just on its face, what do you see on this football team?
Yeah, I think, the biggest question was, how do you replace a guy like Tommy Mellott?
Right.
Tommy Mellott was thrown in there and spent parts of 4 years as the quarterback for Montana State. So there is that, inherent, knowledge and trust from Brent Vigen into Mellott and what he can do with the offense. And listen, he was banged up a lot. And missed some times, and you can tell that impacted the team when he was out last year. The biggest thing for a guy like Justin Lamson, and remember, he's not, some bum plucked off the street, thrown into, a starting quarterback. He was a 3-star, went to Stanford, and if not for the upheaval and the Troy Taylor firing and everything that went around that Stanford program and it not working out for him there in today's portal, he lands at Montana State. And listen, Bowling Green was a place that he was supposed to go to outside of Stanford. He was committed to going to Bowling Green and then made the choice. And listen, Bowling Green, Montana State. I firmly believe, and there's a lot of people that would back me up on that those, FBS MAC schools are just not something that you necessarily want to be a part of. So he made the right choice, put himself in the right environment. And the biggest thing for him, and we'll talk about him in just a little bit, he stayed healthy, picking up the system and staying healthy and staying on the field. And preseason depth chart, he wasn't necessarily going to be QB1. He had to come in, he had to earn it. But by all accounts, utilizing the offensive weapons and his skill set fits this offense perfectly. And it's been, I don't want to call him a replica of Tommy Mellott, because I think they're different in a lot of different ways. I think Lamson may be a little bit taller than Tommy Mellott and can probably throw it. He has probably a little bit more pro prospects, but using the Tommy Mellott comparison, Tommy Mellott was drafted in the 6th round based on what he could do in this offense, and a lot of people were looking at him as a receiver with his toughness. People trust this Brent Vigen program. They trust Montana State. And for Justin Lamson, what he's doing in this offense is showing that, hey, it's got a lot of NFL scouts looking at him as a viable option potentially in the draft in the coming years. But for him, it's picking up the offense, utilizing his skill set that probably fits him a little bit better than Tommy Mellott did, and most importantly, staying healthy.
Let's look at him. And a 6'2", 215-pound young man out of El Dorado Hills, California. Brandon, you mentioned he's a 3-star out of Oak Ridge High School, where he took them to their sectional championship. He was the 2019 NorCal Offensive Player of the Year. He signs at Syracuse for the 2021 season. By the way, he was one of those COVID kids in high school where everything got shut down, and that really, I think, impacted his final season. So But he does commit to Syracuse in the 2022 spring season. He tears his knee up, and so he's out for the season. He suffered a bad knee injury in that spring. He enters the transfer portal in that early 2023 period. He signs with Stanford, and he becomes a key piece of that offense. He runs the Wildcat. He plays some quarterback. He scores 4 touchdowns in 2024, appearing in all 12 games. And I think at that point it was like, okay, this kid can play at the Division I level. He's going to have some prospects. He signs with Bowling Green, like you said, Brandon, and then change of heart. And Bozeman comes calling, and the young man takes his talents to Montana State, and who was obviously looking for a quarterback. And it was a rough start. Remember, this is an 0-2 team after Oregon, and then they lose to South Dakota State. This is the first time they were 0-2 in 2017, and a lot of questions, Coach Jackson. You got to think at this point, people are wondering, like, okay, who is this young man that we signed here, and why isn't he able to get us over the hump? It was special teams that let him down in that South Dakota game. But question marks were early for this young man, and he had to overcome some adversity. It says a lot to me about his character.
Yeah, a lot about his character and a lot about his toughness, too. I would imagine, I mean, I don't know what he was thinking about when he was going to Bowling Green, but Montana State's a better fit. It's a little closer to where he's at. I tell you, the thing that impresses me the most about him, I mean, obviously he's a heady kid. He's got a fantastic arm, but the way he runs with the football is pretty impressive. And I thought that as much as Touchdown Tommy ran the last few years, and watching him go, I thought I didn't think that they'd be able to replace that, and obviously they have.
Yeah, and they really have. Brandon, 2,892 yards, 24 passing touchdowns, just 3 interceptions, 72% completion percentage. If you look at the stats, you look at Montana State and you go, this is a run-first team. And I think they are. Tons of talent. But Justin Lamson can throw the ball. He's likely to eclipse that 3,000 yard passing milestone in the championship game. So this young man isn't just a runner. He's got 704 rushing yards, 14 touchdowns. He's just behind Julius Davis in that category and Adam Jones in that category. I mean, it's just unbelievable what they put on the ground. But what you said earlier, he fits better. What would make you think that he fits better in this offense because of he's a dual threat, or what makes you feel that?
Well, over Tommy Millett, I think it's the height.
Okay.
Tommy Millett was 5'11", and that's why he's not a quarterback at the NFL level. That's why people were looking at him as a wide receiver.
Right.
I mean, evaluators said if this guy was truly 6'1", 6'2", he's a totally different type of player in the NFL, and he is a quarterback. He's somebody that they look at as a quarterback. He may not be anything more than a P squad player to start his NFL career, but he could be a quarterback now. At being 5'11", they project him as a slot receiver. The thing about Justin Lamson, and credit to him, he's very smart with where he kind of wants to guide his career. You mentioned committing to Syracuse at a high school. Who was the head coach there where he committed? Dino Babers, a very smart offensive mind. The transfer to Stanford, who was the head coach there? Troy Taylor, former Sac State head coach, but more importantly, the Utah quarterback coach for a long time. You think about some of the pretty good quarterbacks that have played football there at Utah, may not have all hit at the NFL level, but very good collegiate quarterbacks there at Utah. Then he goes to Bowling Green, and you take a shot at Bowling Green, but they had a head coach there, Scott Loeffler, who left to become the quarterback coach of the Eagles. Very smart mind, very well respected as a quarterback coach. So then he lands at Montana State. Brent Vigen, quarterback mentality, former quarterback coach there as well. So, I mean, he's putting himself in that right position there. And the one thing about these California quarterbacks, and I've spent a lot of time in the high school ranks, as both of you guys have as well. And, these California kids are a little bit different. They have to, it's not like Texas, necessarily where you can take a 5'11" kid, use his speed, roll him out and make throws that way. Or, you have a 6'4" guy, big arm guy. You're not like, Georgia, where I'm located, where you have just pure athletic guys at quarterback that can do it all. California guys are generally, the type of guys that have to drop back, throw the ball. And if you can use your legs, that's the added bonus. So I think, coming out of high school, and his prep days, he knew that he had to be one of those drop back guys. That's just more of the offenses out there in California. It's just more of the, drop back, pick apart defenses.
Right.
So he can do that. And then he can use his legs on top of that and be athletic. And I don't want to say he's as fearless. That's the one thing I would give Tommy Millott a whole lot more credit than Justin Lamson. But that's not necessarily a knock. Justin Lamson is smart. He's not reckless at times that you would say Tommy Millott was with running the football. But he is a guy that isn't scared of contact, but he knows more times than not, get down, get out, live to fight another down. So I think that's what makes him a little bit better fit. He's a better passer than Tommy Millott. Not a knock on Tommy Millott. I think he's a little bit more situationally aware of the environment of, hey, you know what? Is it worth lowering my shoulder to get one more yard on this play, or is it better to get down or get out? So I think all that factors in, leads to the point of where that's what's giving him the able to thrive, and he's getting great coaching at the end of the position.
Well, he was named the Big Sky Newcomer of the Year, and with awards, it always goes to the SIDs to have to write these beautiful stories, and we're so excited to be joined by Bill Lamberty, the Sports Information Director there at Montana State. Bill, thank you so much for taking time. We understand it's a very busy week for you guys, and it is a joy to talk to you and get a chance to dive deep into Montana State.
It's a pleasure, guys. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
Well, the first thing I want to talk about is you've been around several deep playoff runs, including the 2024 season, the road to the championship. From a media and logistics standpoint, what's the chaos level like when you get to this kind of depth in the playoffs?
Yeah, it's funny. It kind of ratchets up each week as you go. The TV crews ask a little bit more of you. You're deeper. It's a more exclusive company. But I'll tell you something, it'll never again be like it was last week with the second Cat Grizz game in a month and all the intense scrutiny and really an argument for the biggest sporting event in this state's history. So it'll never, ever again be like it was last week. But the playoffs, it's sort of a crescendo as it goes. You build towards the championship game, wherever that might be in that year, and it always ratchets up every week.
So what was it like? Was there an official title? We kind of talked about naming the second Brawl of the Wild. Was there an official title? I've seen Super Brawl and some other things. What did y'all go with?
We didn't use one.
Okay.
Brawl of the Wild is branded in our state with a certain sponsor, and so we stayed away from that.
Nice.
But yeah, shout out to Town Pump. But so we stayed away from Brawl of the Wild, but there were some great ones out there. The Brawl to End It All and the biggest brawl of them all and the Super Brawl. It was high noon for puns and clever phrasing.
I think would we go with Brawl of the Bracket or Brawl of the Divide or I can't remember what we did. We had a couple fans sending us some comments. But first of all, let me introduce you to Coach Jackson and Brandon Joseph. Brandon is in Georgia with me. I'm in the Metro Atlanta area. Brandon's just outside of it. Coach Jackson is in Tennessee, Mount Juliet, Tennessee. So we're on that East Coast. So we get a chance to see a different kind of landscape for FCS football than the Dakotas and Montana, but it is a real treat. And what we see out of that region is this culture of football. And I imagine that you've had to be a part of developing and kind of nurturing that culture at Montana State. What is it like to be an SID in Montana where football is so important?
It's a big deal. It's I used to joke in the 90s, I sat around like the Maytag repairman because we weren't very good and the Grizzlies were really rolling. And then 1 week a year, it was like running the Super Bowl. But it's a mania in this state. I mean, it's something that you talk about all year round. Cat Grizz is every day. Every day is a rivalry day in this state because everybody in this state has family or friends or coworkers from the other side, and so it's just something you can't really get away from. But the positive side and the benefit of that is that there's so many good stories, there's so many good people involved, people that care so deeply about it, and so there's always interest, but there's always something to talk about, something to discuss.
So was there a battle over, because I know Yellowstone was a very popular show, and they actually said Bobcat football was the only thing that mattered to the Dutton family. Was there a battle of who might get that nod? Did they reach out to y'all in any way?
No, not that I know of. No, we actually play that clip on our scoreboard right before kickoff every game, and it always gets a big roar. But no, they not that I know of.
Yeah.
But it's funny because about 35 years ago, if you know the movie The River Runs Through It, was set in Missoula but filmed in Bozeman. And the TV show Yellowstone is set in Bozeman and filmed down south of Missoula. So it's, I don't think people outside the state would know the difference. But it's really, that's been an impactful show, like that movie was all those years ago on this region and this area.
Well, we do have a live chat going, and before we kind of get into the deep football, one of our chatters has asked, what timeline is there on the stadium expansion? And that's something that I know that has been something you guys have been really excited about.
Yeah, we've initiated a feasibility study, and that will tell us a lot. That will send us in one direction or another. So I don't think there's a timeline set, but I know that there's a lot of interest in getting into that process, because as anybody can see from watching our games this season, there is demand for more seats in that stadium.
Well, one thing that you kind of came in as we were talking about Justin Lamson, you tell stories about these student athletes. It's kind of your job. Is there a particular player on this current roster that maybe deserves a spotlight because their journey has been rewarding to watch as a Montana State Bobcat?
I mean, we've got so many kids that fit into that category. I think the Dowler twins fall into that category, Caden and Taco, because their story, they've both persevered through so much. Adam Jones is a player who really made the most of his only real Division I opportunity here at Montana State, and has just become a cornerstone player. But he's just such an elite human being. But we have so many guys like that. Titan Fleischman, JT Reed, our starting center, moved to center from guard before the Oregon game, because of an injury. Last spring, he became the first person in his family to graduate from college. So,
wow,
just a lot of kids that have overcome a lot to play football at a really high level here at Montana State.
That's fantastic. And we talk about Justin Lamson, had an 87-yard strike to Taco Dowler. What an amazing job they did against the Grizz. Was there an unsung hero on that roster that might deserve media attention that maybe isn't getting that kind of media attention from that specific game?
Well, I mean, in a way, Taco's an unsung hero, because not just of the catches and the yards, but he draws so much attention. I mean, you can find almost any offensive play that works in our system, and Taco's going to have three guys kind of out and around him. But I would kind of always lean towards our offensive line. We've had an elite offensive line for many years now, but especially under Coach Vigen. A couple of years back, we had all five starters earn some kind of All-America mention. Wow. And so to me, I agree on Zach Cruz too. He's really stepped up. Another guy that stepped up late in the season for each of the last 3 years is Kenneth Iden IV. Kenny has just, for whatever reason, man, the calendar flips to November and he just balls. He has something like 10.5 sacks in his career in playoff games. So he's a guy that when the lights are on, he really gets after it.
Wow. Well, you are looking for your first national championship since 19. Oops, today's I went ahead and changed your. I changed you to me. Wow. How did that happen? That's not right. See, it's a professional organization here that Bill, that we're really. There we go. You are looking for your first national championship title game since 1984. Obviously, you've been close. You've been around. Most people don't realize the SID's step by step, every single inch of this football program. You're alongside the coaching staff. What is it about this 2025 squad that feels like one that can finally break through and win this championship?
Well, there's elite top end talent. I mean, guys like Taco Dowler, Justin has really become done an amazing job at quarterback. I mean, the guys that everybody knows about, but there's really broad-based depth, and I don't mean depth as in players coming up from the bottom of the two deep to contribute, but really great depth across the board. I mean, guys have stepped up at every position group, every level of the offense and defense. The offensive line is consistently tremendous, but two really amazing running backs, a group of receivers that all make big catches when called upon, a couple of really big play tight ends. On defense, the linebackers have been tremendous. Caden Dowler kind of came out of nowhere on a regional national level to be the Big Sky defensive MVP and a first-team All-America. But, everybody inside the program knew if he just stayed healthy, he'd have a chance to do all these things. So I think it's just a team and a program right now that has a lot of talent spread out at all the different position groups.
Well, it is a joy. Listen, sports information directors are undervalued, underpaid. I mean, people don't understand the history and the process that you guys have to go through each week to put game notes out there. And I can't imagine what it's like in Montana. But it is a joy to speak with you. I really do appreciate you setting up the interview with Coach Vigen. We're going to bring on transition from you to Coach Vigen. But Bill, thank you so much for the response and coming on the show and talking about this Montana State program. We're fired up for you guys and looking forward to watching what Montana State could do in the championship.
Absolutely a pleasure anytime. And if I go looking for an agent, I'm giving you a text.
All right, that sounds good. That's Bill Lamberty, the SID for Montana State, as now we'll welcome in head coach Brent Vigen to the show. Coach Vigen, wow, what a season you guys have had. I know it probably seems like just yesterday, but also a long time ago to start of the season. What did you see out of this 2025 team in the early seasons of training that felt like this is a team replacing a lot of pieces but could put it together?
Well, I think Bill kind of spoke to it. We do have talent across the board. And however, our talent was mostly inexperienced, youthful in nature. We had a leadership core that was developing because our leadership essentially was new with how many guys that we lost in that role last year. So I think a team that had a lot of potential. And if we could put the pieces together and continue to learn and grow and be committed to that, we could be playing our best in December. And ultimately, that's what I think this team has done. And, we need to be playing our absolute best in January.
What do you want your football teams to look like to the fan base? When they turn on Montana State, is there something you want them to recognize about your program?
Well, I think the cool thing about this team is the team is the star. I think a team that really plays for one another. So, what does that look like to the naked eye or on film? I think it's a team that plays with a lot of trust. It's a team that you can sense always has a belief to it, and one that plays really hard and passionate and ideally pretty fundamentally sound. So I think we've been that. We understand what that means week in and week out. We did have some guys get some individual honors, but ultimately there's teams, that have got more, and that's okay, because again, this team was after, team success first and foremost, and I think that shines out on Saturdays.
We wanted to bring fans into the Montana State locker room, and you talked about some of those leaders and kind of gelling this team together. What does the locker room at Montana State look like from the individual leaders that are kind of pulling this thing all together on a day-to-day basis?
Well, you want it to be a continuum of years past, meaning leaders graduate, new leaders emerge. They've learned from guys before them. Ideally, the older guys bring younger guys, in particular within their position group, in and love them up and support them right from the start. So that would be my the best vision of it, is just there's not this divide whatsoever, whether it's by age, by position, offense, defense. We have 44 guys from Montana, meaning we have 60 plus guys from out of state, and we don't want that to be a divide. Guys from a lot of different backgrounds. So I think just a group that truly does care for one another, and that is our greatest motivating factor, is just doing everything we can for this team and for one another.
The college football landscape has been ever changing, seems like, over the last several years. And FCS, sometimes it feels like it gets a backseat. What do you feel like the FCS game, how do you feel like it's perceived nationally? What is the FCS doing right to promote the brand? And what do you think that maybe the FCS could do to enhance what is occurring in the college football, which seems like everything's getting tamped down a little bit at the FCS level?
Yeah, there's a lot of layers to that question.
Sorry,
we're 15 years into this game being played in January. I do think having it be this standalone, which was for the first time last year, truly standalone. It's the only football game that there's going to be played on that Monday night. I know as it moved into January, there was a lot of overlap on Saturday or Sunday as it was played with the NFL in particular. So I think that, the stage that we now have, it does put more eyes on it. I think it's still regional in nature. Certainly in our part of the world, Montana, the Dakotas, it is the end all be all. And that's not the way it is across the country, but it is a really good brand of football. And I think, anybody that would have had our game on the previous Saturday, the semifinal against Montana, would have said, okay, there's something going on there that people really are attracted to beyond, just this rivalry in state. It was a really good football game. And there's a lot of good football players. And, whether it's the FCS, the group of five, there is this transactional nature that everybody's, looking at your guys and wanting to pull them up. And that's just the way it is. Even within the highest level of FBS, there's plenty of movement. So, hopefully your program and our programs at the FCS level are as much as our defining factor. Like our situation where we have an extremely passionate fan base. We have a great product. When our games are on, ESPN, or in this case, ABC, it looks like it's supposed to look. The stands are full, all those types of things. So, and the last thing I'll say is I do think the top of the FCS and a lot of, say, the group of five, group of six now, there's a lot of gray as far as, what the football on the field actually looks like, and the competitive nature between those types of opportunities when they come up. So I think it's a really good brand of football. I know for myself and our staff, coaching in a place like Montana State, where we are the only game in town, and we're supported in a way that you want to be supported at. It's a great place to coach, and I think our players, feel like it's a great place to play and go to school and really have a great college football experience.
Well, we're going to go ahead and I'll open it up with Coach Jackson's got a question for you. We also have a live chat going, Coach, that's got some questions. Obviously, Caden Dowler's injury, people want to know if he's starting. And I'll just say this about national television. When you got a guy named Taco, it draws attention. People want to know who this kid Taco Dowler is. But, Coach Jackson, go ahead with your question.
Hey, Coach, I just got a couple of questions for you. And first of all, I do want to tell you, I think you're one of the best coaches in the country at any particular level. And I know you got a big game coming up here in Nashville, and that's kind of where I am. So the first thing I want to know is when you turn on the film and see Illinois State, what do you see? What's your what's your synopsis there? And then the second thing I'd like to know is once you, I don't know when you plan on getting to Nashville, but when you do arrive at Nashville, what have you got any other things that you're going to do while you're around Nashville?
Well, regarding Illinois State, I think really good football team. Coach Spack's been there for a number of years, and this team like the teams I remember coaching against when he first got there. I was at North Dakota State when he first got there, and physical teams, really good up front on both sides of the ball. They have really good skill right now on the offensive side. Their quarterback's playing really well. They just seem like they've hit their stride certainly during the month of December, and they're playing with a lot of confidence right now. And to go on the road 4 consecutive weeks and do what they've done, it's very impressive. So I got a lot of respect for not only what this team has done and them getting here, but Coach Spack and all he's done in his time there. And we'll have to play really well in our own right to do what we want to do in this game. There's no denying that. So you can throw seeds and who's favored, all that kind of stuff, out the window, because it's going to be a really good matchup of two physical football teams. And I think two teams that play complementary football at the same time. We get to Nashville on Friday. We're going to do our practices and meetings for Friday here back in Bozeman, so we'll get in later. And this is a great opportunity to go to a great city like Nashville. I think we're really excited that's the new location. I think in transitioning from Frisco because of the stadium remodel, I certainly appreciate Nashville stepping up and the NCAA for choosing such a great site. But it's about going down there to win a football game. I think the coolest thing that we do that is independent of Nashville is, in playing in this national championship 3 times, it's an opportunity for so many Bobcats from all over the country to congregate on one spot. And, it's our hope that there's even more fans that find their way to Nashville than did Frisco the last couple times we were there. And, that's it's alumni, that's former players that we get a chance to touch base with. Our players will get a chance to interact with those guys who have, really laid the foundation over many, many years for this program. I know we get a chance to go from through an NCAA function to Nissan Stadium, to the Titan Stadium, and have a little function there. But otherwise, it's about going down and winning a football game. Our fans can enjoy Broadway all they want, but we're on a mission.
The Johnny Cash Museum is also there in Nashville. Coach. Brandon, how about you? What you got?
Yeah, I got a couple of questions for you, Coach. I want to go back to that game against Montana in the semifinal game. I'm hesitant to use the word a dominant victory, even though the final score, you won running away. And I think, in your time in football, you learn a lot about a team when you get out early with a lead, and then, a good team can fight back there. What did you learn about the resolve of your team, especially later in the third quarter? You were trailing at a point in the second half. That's why I say, a head coach doesn't really call that a dominating victory when they're trailing in the second half, but you learn a lot about your team in those critical moments that you withstood Montana basically emptying the tank at you to get back in the game, and they did that because they're a good football team, but you were able to rebound, rally, and win going away.
Yeah, I think it was another testament to this team's, solidarity, belief. A lot of football teams, you can have a lot of finger pointing, offense to defense, individuals. This team has none of that. And we were playing a good football team. And, unfortunately, we turned the ball over before the half, giving them a short field. And that made that complicated. We didn't answer coming out on offense in the second half. They score again. And, all through that, you just didn't sense, any panic. And even going down like we did 23-20, it was the offense's turn to show that resolve and be resilient and find a way. And, that drive, it wasn't an easy drive. There was several third down conversions, but it was a very confident drive at the same time. And that's players and coaches. And then, then it was up to the defense to take their turn and get a 3 and out like they did. And, ultimately we had the big play that put us up 2 scores, the 87-yard touchdown. And then we ultimately get a couple more stops and we score on defense. And before you knew it, we had rattled off 28 straight points. So dominant finish. And I think we had a little bit of a dominant start to get out to a 2-score lead, but, nothing's supposed to be easy this time of year. And I think our guys understand that. And that's why, this next game and playing such a tough opponent, there's a sense of confidence that they're good. They're going to make some things happen, but we have to keep pounding. We got to keep going after them, and we've had several of these instances, in particular over the last month and a half. We closed our season playing UC Davis, who was a playoff and a seeded team, and then we played the University of Montana in Missoula, and now we've had the playoff games. So I think this last stretch has really provided all kinds of opportunities to demonstrate the type of resolve that we want to be about. And, each one of those opportunities to me can really build upon itself, just as far as the belief in one another goes. And, so we head again to this one last opportunity with this particular team. I think with the right mindset of nothing's going to come easy. We got to go get it. And, even in low moments, we got to keep fighting.
Your defense, that 4-2-5, base defense. I think it's truly the multiple defense in today's era, because you can go 3-3-5 if you need to. You can go 4-3 even if you need to at times. It seems that defense is going to be the critical factor, and not necessarily, in terms of being resolute, but being versatile in nature, because, I take a look at Illinois State and watching back in some of their games, you see a lot of their opponents go in there and going to be very resolute, stopping the run. And then they have that receiver number 2 that just gashes them in the middle of the field. And then they go, okay, we have to respond. We can't be resolute in this run game. And then the run game takes over, or they walk up a couple of defensive backs and then 2 beats them deep. So how important is it for you having the game plan out of the gate, not to truly be resolute in one type of thing of we're going to take away that run game because they got 2 guys that can run the ball really well, and just be flexible and more versatile and to start the game and knowing that, hey, they're a good offense. We're going to have to necessarily respond to what they do and react.
Well, for us, it starts with our guys up front. We're fortunate to have I think that'd be our clear strength on defense. And it's not just our 4 starters that are all seniors, but it's the 4 guys that we roll behind them. Our ability with that front 4 and then the 2 backers to be able to do the things they need to do. It allows us with the remaining 5 pieces to, present things in a lot of different ways. And if the picture we can show pre-snap becomes something different at the snap, and we're mixing that up enough, to make it complicated for a quarterback, that's been our method. But it does start with those guys up front to play the run like we need to without having to overcommit to the box. Getting ourselves in too many one-on-ones with a receiver like they have, that's problematic, and that's really been the issue the last couple of weeks in particular. And the quarterback right now, he's a competitor. He is we got to keep him contained, whether it's again, changing the pitchers on him, making him feel uncomfortable, but then not allowing him to get out and scramble. The unscripted plays that he continues to make are a big part of our success too. So they're a handful for sure. And it's it's being physical up front. It's changing the pictures. It's tackling in space. It's all the things that I really feel like we've been tested on. In particular, the last 5 games against a variety of different offenses, but at the same time, the common thread is they could all get after you if you let them.
I was fortunate to spend some time around the Georgia Tech football program and the inherent love of Brent Key towards his quarterback, Haynes King. I think that was on full display. If anybody watched the Pop-Tart Bowl that was watching, it's really weird to say the Pop-Tarts Bowl. If you're watching, Brent kind of said, I want Haynes to be Haynes. Is this a kind of a game where you want Justin to be Justin? Because it just seems that in a short amount of time, you develop an inherent trust of this young man to run this offense. And, we were comparing him, the things that touchdown Tommy Malott was able to do for this program in previous years. But he has stepped in and almost been, seamless in the fact of being able to run this offense with confidence. Is that going to be the key with everything you guys do offensively? There's a lot of, intricate natures of the offense there, and you need him to be great one more time and put that trust in him.
Yeah, without great quarterback play, it's challenging this time of year, and Justin's continued to respond. I think we just need the best version of Justin. I don't think he needs to become anything different than he's kind of been through the course of our first 15 games. And I do think, this is the first time he's been the guy, and we've really leaned into that. Even though this is his fifth year in college, as far as being part of 2 years at Syracuse and 2 years at Stanford. So I think our offense has continued to, I guess, mold around his abilities, and I know Coach Pete Sturbeck, our offensive coordinator, has continued to lean into, what does Justin do well? What does he feel comfortable with as the season's gone along? So, Justin doesn't have to do it by himself. I think he understands that. His ability to distribute the ball on the perimeter and be accurate and be efficient is a big part of our offense. Fortunately for him, he can hand the ball off to Davis and Jones, and those two guys, would trade that combination of what they can do for anybody in the country. And it all starts again on the offensive side with our offensive line too. So I think the big thing with Justin is just go out and compete. Understand you don't have to do it by yourself. Make the plays that need to be made. Protect the football. Do what you've done, essentially. And if you do that, you'll put us in a good spot to be there, in the fourth quarter and in position to go win a football game.
Coach, one of the names, of course, Taco Dowler is associated with just one of the star athletes with your football team. He was the Montana Gatorade Player of the Year. What was it like recruiting that young man and bringing him into your program?
Yeah, so I got the job in February of 21, which was the February of his junior year. So I was made fully aware of Taco and Caden Dollar, I'm sure first day getting the job that they would be a priority in that next year. And that was also kind of the finishing touches of COVID. So we didn't have a lot of, or we didn't have any on-campus recruiting really till the summer of that my first calendar year being here. And, I think getting to know them both individually was a key component, because they are twins, but they're so different, and they're playing, opposite sides of football. They're different, even the types of, they're not different sized guys at the same time. So I think that summer it became apparent that we needed to get them for sure. We need to figure it out how to get them, and developing a relationship with them both, and was really important. Then getting a chance to watch them play as seniors. They committed, I think, pretty early in that fall. We were really excited about the potential of what they could do. And speaking of Taco, we knew he would be a guy that, as a true freshman, would likely come in and have an impact, in particular as a punt returner, and he did. So I don't know. They're just really neat young men. I say neat because they have this incredible relationship between them. They're great teammates. They're highly, highly competitive. And they're, like I said, for twins, they're completely different at the same time. So, and then the name, Taco Dollar, it's not his real name, believe it or not, but it's become his real name essentially. And, he's latched onto this identity that he's a unique, he'll be a unique player in this state, in particular, in the lineage of Montana State football, and he'll go down in the annals as one of the best.
And Caden stepped up and has done some great things. Obviously suffered an injury. Can you give us an update on Caden for the championship game?
Yeah, he's not ruled out. I think it's certainly helpful that we have 2 weeks and a couple days between games. I think as this week continues to go on, I think we'll get a better feel. I know he's going to do everything he can to be on that field, so I suspect that's going to be a reality. Again, a tremendous competitor, and he's missed enough football to know that if he's got a chance to play in this game, he's going to play in it. I know the injuries he's had in previous seasons have ended those seasons, but this isn't necessarily one that ends it. It's just there's some healing that has to go on, and we certainly look forward to him being able to make an impact on the 5th.
We'll stay on the defense. Cole Taylor's been a player that's just been phenomenal all over the field. What can you tell us about that young man?
Yeah, I know you're asking Bill about stories. I was listening a little bit and just, who are guys that have really, whether it's surprise, come out of nowhere, those types of things, and guys that we really needed to step up. And I think Cole, to me, would be at the top of the list. This time last year, we were transitioning Cole, obviously, out of his redshirt freshman year. He didn't play much of all defense as a redshirt freshman, had a good impact on special teams. And I think as a staff, an athlete his size, we needed to figure out whether linebacker was going to take, because if it wasn't going to take, we had to figure out someplace else to play him, whether that was defensive end or tight end or whatever. And he had a really good spring where you could see, okay, it's starting to click. This is a kid that played exclusively quarterback in high school.
Wow, okay.
Didn't play lick of defense. I've told us he kicked the ball off and they wouldn't even let him go down and tackle because they didn't want to get him hurt. He was so important to his team up in Great Falls as a quarterback. So there was a steep curve, but he had the athleticism. He's a very intelligent player, and he had the makeup, I guess. Then we go out to Oregon, and he's going to be a guy that maybe is going to get some time in that first game. And Neil Daly, our starter, goes down, and then it's on for Cole, and he took that opportunity. First out there in Eugene, and then he just continued to build upon it, and you could see his confidence grow throughout the season. And ultimately, the way that position's played out, he has been the Iron Man for us, and really just a steady player that you can just see keep continuing to get better. I don't know, he's more than scratched the surface, but there's still room. He's just a redshirt sophomore now, and just so excited about the jump he's made this year and the impact he's made. But then you also look down the road, what he's going to continue to be able to do is very exciting.
And then Kenneth Eden as well is just a player that's fun to watch. He's a good, quick athlete. That young man, tell us about what he brings to your defense.
Yeah, he's been as disruptive, I guess, as anybody. His ability to rise to the moment, I guess. If this is his first go around, he's been able to do this in the playoffs, going back, and he's just become, beyond being this guy that could flash here and there, maybe like he did as a freshman and a sophomore. He's just become a more, every down steady force for us. And, he's disruptive in the run game. He's able to get after the quarterback. He's not hunting up plays. He knows the plays will come if he just does his job. And that's probably been the biggest transition for him over the last couple of years is, for every couple good plays he made as a freshman and sophomore, there was a couple shake your head plays. Well, he doesn't have, hardly any of those now. And he's got plenty of those flash plays, and he's a captain. He's he's a Bozeman native. His dad played here. So, how important, his legacy and what he does ultimately with this opportunity. It's great when you can see that really play out, in particular over a guy's senior year like it has for Kenny.
On the offensive side, the run game is obviously huge for this program. Adam Jones and Julius Davis have been phenomenal. Talk about those two young men and what the running back room must look like. Does Justin Lamson also sit in on those running back meetings?
No, they maybe overlap a little bit on protections, but as far as the running backs, we're really fortunate that those guys have had the seasons they've had. I know the production's very similar. The carries very, very similar, only off a couple carries, and they're both extremely healthy. Either one of them as the guy obviously would have more production, but I don't think they'd have the health they have right now after we played 15 games. And we have a couple really productive guys that sit behind them, just waiting in the wings and ready to go. And I really appreciate those guys too, their readiness, because you don't know playing that position when your number is going to get called. But Adam and Julius, they're different in their own right as far as how they get the job done, but they don't miss too many things as far as seeing the field. I think they're both capable pass catchers, both capable in protection, and they're both every down backs, I guess is what I'm saying. And they are one another's biggest fans too. In a world that we live in, where being selfish is at the top of the list, those two guys personify this program as far as just being unselfish, doing whatever it takes for us to win.
And by the way, I thought how you handled the Julius Davis, the national attention, that kind of blew that out of proportion. I thought you handled extremely well addressing it, and it's been a non-issue. I think it was extremely well done. So way to go to you and your team. Brandon's got another one for you here, Coach.
Yeah, I just want to talk about, in today's age, we talk about, people trying to poach players. I mean, you have to worry about players every year. For somebody like you that puts together a winning program year after year, you got to worry about staff as well. I believe you've lost, over the past couple of years, 3 or 4, coordinators to FBS jobs. So how do you go about finding these coaches? Because, I talked to one football coach who he's now left the Sun Belt onto the American, and the praise for, North Dakota State, Montana State, places where you've had been contact with is, they're good teachers of ball. That's their big thing. In the ACC, they may get, good coaches that are recruiters, but, back over where you guys are, you have to be good teachers of ball because, you're not picking out athletes a dime a dozen. So how do you go about finding the good teachers of ball that you guys get in there? And it just seems like you hit year after year in finding these guys.
Yeah, that's part of the deal. Players in some cases moving on, and certainly coaches getting opportunities to move on and better themselves. So there's probably 2 aspects. I do think, in the grand scheme of things, we're an attractive place for guys to maybe want to coach, to get on my radar, I guess. And then it becomes about, whether it's the offensive side of the ball or the defensive side of the ball, trying to put those 2 rooms together the best that we can, and having 5 guys essentially in each room that really complement one another. And sometimes that's some outside the box thinking. And, I've tried to hire guys that either I'm familiar with, maybe I've worked with, but, you run out of that list at some point to some degree, or really lean on guys that you trust in this profession. And, if you're hiring guys that are maybe then once removed from, your own personal experience. And for the most part, we've been able to do just that. And in doing that, you kind of, I hope you get what you think you're hiring, but as much as anything, that new coach knows what he's getting into too. As far as, again, I hope a head coach that's very supportive, that's going to allow guys to do their job, to be empowered, to grow, because growth is such a key element to any one of us, continuing to really feel valued. And how you grow is you're given responsibility, whether that's, offense, defense, recruiting, whatever it might be. There's nothing better than being asked to do a job and being allowed to do it, I guess. And along the way, trying to do anything and everything I can to support our coaches. So, it's my hope we don't have all kinds of turnover, but I've come to realize that's part of each and every year, and that's a compliment to our program. And just like when you maybe lose players, look at it from that perspective. Enjoy the time you had, a coach or a player in your program, rather than worrying about the time you don't get them. And see every new hire as a new opportunity for us to get better, and really challenge your new additions to make the most of that opportunity at the same time.
Coach, my final question, I really do appreciate you spending time. You and Bill have been fantastic. Illinois State making history, this road warrior mindset, defeating NDSU on the road and going to Villanova and now a Nashville destination. What does the road warrior mindset about that team say mentally and culturally about them? And because you have the experience in these championship games, what are you going to draw on that you learned from being in this position of playing for a championship for this game?
Yeah, I think that road success just speaks to a group. They're a pretty experienced group across the board, and that's a coaching staff that's very experienced. It's a group of players that really is. So they're not going to let an adverse environment get in their way. And ultimately, I think of their 4 losses, I believe 3 were at home this year. So they really knocked the park on the road. Their only road losses to Alabama or to Oklahoma, excuse me. We got to be able to counteract that with our own level of belief and certainly appreciate what this team, this opponent is capable of doing. For us, drawing on last year's experience in particular, we do have several guys that would have been a part of that. Our oldest guys were part of the first run back in the 21 season, but really being able to draw off last year, I think it's just, hey, there's a lot going on. There's a lot at stake, but it's still a football game. And I think you look back at last year's game. Once we settled in, we were right there, but we didn't settle in right away. And what do we got to do to make it about the game, make it about being as good as we can fundamentally? Again, know that they're going to get some things, but how do we keep the ball in front of us on defense? How do we, keep getting first downs and on the offensive side? And, that's any game essentially what you need to draw upon. So to me, that's probably the biggest thing. This is just another game, guys. It's just it is about the game. It's about us being the best version of ourselves. Yeah, maybe when the lights are the brightest, but it's still about going out and playing a football game. And I hope our guys from last year's experience can see some of that, and not worry about anything else, and just worry about doing everything we can through this week of preparation, and then ultimately next Monday night to just win one more football game.
Wow. Coach, what a joy. We're excited for your football program. We're excited for what's happening there in Bozeman, and we certainly are excited for what's about to happen in Nashville. It's going to be a great football game. Us as FCS fans really do appreciate what you do as the head coach there, what Bill does as the SID, and we know it's a lot of work, and I can't imagine what your Christmas must have been like around your family preparing for a national championship game. But for you taking the time to talk to the fans, talk to us, so appreciative. Best of luck in Nashville. Congratulations on a great season, no matter what happens. And we certainly wish you a happy new year and a healthy new year as well.
Yeah, thanks a lot for shining a light on this game and the FCS in general. It is a great product. It's going to prove to be an unbelievable game, I believe, on the 5th. And we're trying to get one more point to them. So appreciate all you do, and go Cats.
All right, that is head coach Brent Vigen of Montana State. Thank you so much, Coach. Thank you, Bill, for joining us. Wow, every time we have a coach on, it's like it just takes you right back to the locker room. You can just tell he's just level. It's a national championship. It's another game. It's just another game. What a joy it is to speak to him for almost 40 minutes. Thank you guys for the patience and stuff with that. By the way, we got 40 people in the chat, live viewing. Put your comments in the chat. We'd love to hear from you. Please hit that like. It really does make a difference. And you can subscribe to this channel for free. It doesn't cost you a thing. It just lets you know when we go live, because we all have our own lives and our schedule is sometimes bounces around. But we'd love to have you a part of the team. And so subscribe to the FCS Checkdown. Next, we have another guest coming in. This is a fan that has reached out through social media, listens to our show. Giovanni joining us from the San Francisco Bay Area. Giovanni, I really do appreciate you taking the time to come aboard on the show. Tell us a little bit about yourself and why you love FCS football.
All right. I'm from Philadelphia area and attended Villanova, and that's where it originated. I was a student when they won the national championship.
I love it.
So in our area, a lot of people, they believe Penn State is essentially in Philadelphia. It's actually quite not. It's far away.
No, it's not.
So, yeah, it's really not.
It's in the sticks.
When people think it's in Philadelphia. Yeah, you actually have to they have charters from Philadelphia to Penn State on game days. So Temple never really resonated with me.
Yeah.
Delaware and Villanova were options. And I just preferred the smaller atmospheres, and just they essentially at the FCS level recruit local players.
Yeah.
And I could resonate with the high schools that their roster attended. and the staffs, and I like the regional feel.
This is what we love about the FCS brand of football, because it does have that regionality to it, and we can talk about why Montana and why South Dakotas and North Dakotas are all play so well. Villanova's a program; it's a perennial winner. They do great things. They obviously had a great season. Give us your thoughts real quick on the 2025 season of FCS football, where Montana State is and where Illinois State is.
I mean, as far as Montana State, I didn't expect them to drop off at all, because last year they blew out so many teams that a lot of their backups played extensive reps, and I know they scout and just develop really well. So they were right. Preseason they were top 5, and that's accurate. Villanova was probably about top 15. Villanova lost a lot more though. They had more question marks at quarterback, but I mean they have a great coach, and I mean they're in a fertile recruiting ground, so they're always going to be right there. But I had high expectations for both of them. I expected Montana State to be in the title game. Villanova not up to that level, but clearly a playoff team.
Yeah.
And
so you got a chance to sit in and listen to Coach Vigen. What did you think about the interview? How do you feel about this national championship game coming up as an FCS fan?
Well, interesting that it'll be in Nashville. As far as the game itself, I mean, it's good seeing another Big Sky versus NBC title game.
Yeah.
No one expected Illinois State to be there, so there's intrigue there. It's a different market, so I'd like to see that. I am a little tired of seeing North Dakota State in championships so often. South Dakota State not as much because it's just more recent, but still need to see more representation.
Yeah.
And Illinois State, I mean, they're a brand. They've invested really well. And I mean, they'll only grow from here. So it's good to see.
Yeah, it certainly is. Well, Giovanni, I really do appreciate your time and support. Keep listening to the show. Man, we'd love to have you back on after the game, after the FCS championship game, maybe talk some more FCS football. Great stuff, Giovanni. Congratulations for a great season there for Villanova. Gentlemen, all right, let's get back into this one and talk about, real quickly, the Taco Dowler and Caden Dowler brothers.
Coach, one quick fun fact.
Yeah.
As Giovanni mentioned, Villanova and the passion, the support,
yeah,
that is there, and how they recruit local kids. The American launched, I believe, 12 years ago, and they wanted Villanova to move up. Villanova heavy into the basketball, so they didn't want to compromise their basketball brand by moving up FCS football. That's why they stayed in the Big East, and thus keeping their football program FCS. But the American was hard on getting Villanova for the basketball, and they felt like Villanova could be a brand in football with added resources in there as well. So, and not a lot of people know that, and that was one of the ones that were really pressed hard that never came to fruition.
Wow, great stuff. Brandon bringing in the Villanova history. What it is about Montana State tonight? Okay, well, I'll tell you what. Let's go through. Coach Jackson, you've been around football a long time, played at the Division I level, Western Kentucky. Your son there at Eastern Kentucky, now a coach. What'd you think about Coach Vigen's approach to Illinois State? It's just another game. It kind of fits his personality, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think so too. If there was a measuring line as he's talking, it's going to be straight. You know what I mean?
Right.
He's not going to be too excited. He's not going to be too far down. He knows that consistency is what wins. Listen, I think I told him I think he's one of the best coaches at any level. So preparation, that guy, he's got it. They'll be prepared. He has a machine rolling right now. Like I said, I think they'll be better next year than they are this year. So
scary.
Yeah. And look, not only, a lot of people say it's not the X's and O's, it's the Jimmys and Joes. He's got Jimmys and Joes, and he's got X's and O's.
Yeah.
So that's what separates them more than anything. His quarterback, I don't know how you guys, I don't know if y'all ever coached or not or anything, but you're supposed to count your players on the defensive side. You count your offensive players.
Right.
Their quarterback will be counted as a 1. If you're just a quarterback that throws the ball, he's a 0, and that tells you about how many people to load in the box. you're going to see plenty of light boxes on this guy. And when they do bring heavy boxes, he's able to throw it around. They're well coached. So yeah, that's I mean, I don't know if that answered your question, but that's my thought.
No, it did, Brandon. I'll propose the same thing to you. Go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, and the coach's point as well, because he is so versatile. Illinois State is they're going to be tasked with making a decision of, do we necessarily spy him? And that ultimately takes one more defender away from, and listen, is there a drop off between their number one receiver and their number two receiver? Probably. I think you still trust Lamson to be able to get the ball where he needs to get the ball to, even though there is a fall off from 1 to 2. I don't necessarily think they have anybody that you necessarily worry about consistently taking the lid off of the defense, but the fact that somebody, whether it's a safety or a middle linebacker, has to account for the quarterback and where he can move, and he can also throw the ball on the move pretty well to that point as well. That opens up a lot of space at some level of the field for them to exploit. And the Coach Vigen's demeanor about this is a guy who I think, it comes off as, demure and stoic, but I think he's really confident. I think a lot of what he was talking about in the trenches, I think he thinks that he has a distinct advantage in the trenches on the defensive side of the ball, something that Illinois State necessarily will have trouble dealing with. The thing is, defensively, if they can bring 4 and get pressure on Rittenhouse and drop everybody else and have 7 necessarily in various forms of coverage or bringing pressure, that could lead to a very tough day for Illinois State. Illinois State is counting on the fact that you will either have to bring pressure or drop everybody back and be able to run the ball. If Montana State can bring 4 and keep containment and get middle pressure in, it could be for a very long day for the Redbirds.
One thing I wanted to highlight here, and we'll bring in the Taco Dowler and Caden Dowler conversation here. This is a defense that only allows 18 points per game. They're very, very good. Special teams, I believe, could be a difference maker in this game in 2 ways. Number one, Taco Dowler is a fantastic punt returner. Number 2, there have been 3 kicks blocked by opponents against Montana State. They've had 2 punt blocks against Montana State. Montana State has got to improve. That's how they lost the South Dakota State game. They have got to do a better job on special teams protecting their punter and protecting their field goal kicker, because their field goal kicker is making 80, 90, 89% of his kicks. He's fantastic. Stanstead, or I can't remember what his name is. It is Miles Sandstead. Yeah. But special teams, I think, could play a huge part of this, and Taco Dowler is that. He's got to stay healthy, but I'm imagining Illinois State's looking for chinks in the armor for Montana State. That special teams and bringing a lot of pressure on those the punter and kicker, Brandon, is probably a what they see as could be a game changer.
So the big thing also, remember, we're playing this game in Nashville at a college football stadium. In Frisco, it was a soccer field. And there have been various years of various forms of issue with the field. This will be a better surface as well. So I don't expect any anomalies in the special team game. And to that question, how big of a drop-off between number 1 and number 2 and the receiver, I think there's a big drop-off in the ability to get separation, especially with the cornerbacks of Illinois State. Looking at the film there, Illinois State, they won't travel their corners. They won't necessarily, Taco Dowler will not be getting the number 1 corner for Illinois State every time. They don't travel in that form or fashion. I think there will be a separation issue necessarily to where Illinois State will look at their number 2 guy or whoever is lined up on the number 2 receiver for Montana State, whether that's Steele or Woods at that point, and go, okay, we feel confident we don't necessarily have to help. We don't necessarily have to have, somebody, jumping around underneath or having somebody over the top to help and support. I don't necessarily think doubling will be an issue on the outside there as well. And then you take a look at, somebody made a comment about the 3rd receiver. Well, your 3rd option in terms of passing is normally Adam Jones out of the backfield there for Montana State. So he's not a receiver. He's a running back. That is accounted differently. Now, if you can get a running back linebacker matchup on a wheel or something out of the backfield, then yeah, you feel confident in there. But back to the special teams point of your question, Nathan, I think the special teams aspect of it will be big. If you can block a punt, block a field goal, or get a huge field flip, that's going to be big. I don't think the surface or the environment will lend to that, so it's got to be a created thing as well. It's tough in these types of games because generally you don't really see block punt or block field goal unless something's really blown or assignment is missed there. But I think if somebody could get a little bit desperate, and it's going to be a little bit cold. Nashville tends to have a little bit more wind in that environment, in that stadium, at least in years past pre-renovation when I was down there. At times, because of the way the baseball stadium is actually actuated right off of the football stadium, it creates a little bit of a funnel effect down inside the field area. I know they made some adjustments to the far end zone, so I think wind could also be a factor in there, whether it's for a field goal or a punt.
Well, one of the things I made a couple of graphics here and just wanted to kind of go over. This is Brent Vigen's resume. He's a head coach at Montana State, obviously from Wyoming, offensive coordinator, was assistant head coach there, spent time at North Dakota State. He's been around this. His record is 60-12, 83%. He's got 3 FCS playoff appearances, 3 straight FCS playoff appearances since coming to Montana State. 2 Big Sky titles. He's made those appearance games, the international title games, last year in 2025 in January and then 2021. Coach Jackson, I just want to ask you real quick, what do you feel like his experience and how valuable it may be for this championship game?
Well, I think for one, he's an offensive guy, but his defense plays fantastic. So that's important. I believe that he prepares. When's the last time you saw them in a situation that they wasn't prepared for? You know, when's the last time they ran out there with 13 people on the field or only had 10 on the field?
Sure.
When's the last time that a situation occurred that Montana State was not prepared for? So that tells me from way back whenever they started camp, they practice for every particular situation. You don't see panic from them, and I think that's part of the reason why he wins 80% of his ball games, because of the preparation that he puts his teams through.
Yeah, and obviously, and fans were asking what he's going to learn from those previous championship games, Brandon. I imagine that your experience in that championship game probably is more valuable than you realize, because you've been there before. And we've seen that in teams before. Just veteran teams win games.
Yeah, I think, it's the environment, the pomp and circumstance, being in a neutral field, different locker room, different scheduling. I mean, he's going there Friday for a Monday game. You don't do that for any other road game. You show up normally the night before, and then you go through. As Vigen mentioned, he's got to do some, NCAA things. The team will have to do a couple of different things. So yeah, if you've been there before, you kind of get that environment. You kind of get, being on the field, and there's a lot of different aspects in the pregame warm-up. You don't necessarily have the proper amount of space. There's a lot of different factors in play. Again, I think for them and Coach Vigen, it's going to be really big. He's going to get to that stadium there early. They're going to walk through. It's going to be a college football stadium.
Right.
Too. I don't want to diminish the fact that that's going to be big as opposed to going to a soccer stadium and doing it. And Frisco is a really nice stadium. The National, Soccer Hall of Fame. It is not made for college football. It is not made to host, the facilities that these two teams are going to go in are going to be on par, if not equal to or slightly better than what they've experienced all year. I think, for Illinois State, probably a little bit better than what they've experienced all year. Montana State will probably have the Vanderbilt end zone and the Vanderbilt locker rooms. So that's going to be big for them to be in that environment moving forward for the game as well. So everything is going to be a little bit more normal. And I think for Brent Vigen, he's able to preach them the normal factor of it, that this is, hey, one game in a different stadium. And yes, odds are it's probably going to be split a little bit down the middle in terms of red versus blue. But all those factors will go away, and he can make the feel of the game be a little bit more normal as opposed to years past for a lot of these players that have gone through experience in Frisco.
All right, I'm going to wrap the podcast up just by going through what we know we're going to see as far as the offense and defense of these teams. Take a look at the offense. You've got Justin Lamson, that quarterback, who's done an amazing job, by the way. This team is their passing offense is okay, averaging 202.6 yards per game in passing. Their rushing game is really their bread and butter, and that's where you get Julius Davis and Adam Jones in there and doing a wonderful job. Taco Dowler, the wide receiver, he can be all over the field. Brandon mentioned Adam Jones out of the backfield, but Rocco Lencioni is a tight end that I really believe you're going to have to watch if you're Illinois State. He's not going to be one of those guys that gets the spotlight, but he is a very good player. He was big against Montana State. So I really think that I saw someone in the chat said tight ends are going to be huge. Coach Jackson, what can a good tight end bring to Montana State here against Illinois State?
Well, a good tight end is going to control the middle part of the field. He'll control the flats. He's going to create some matchup problems because do you try and cover him with a linebacker?
Right.
Probably not. You're not going to be successful there. So that means you're going to probably have to put a safety on top of him. Now, I will say this, Nathan, kind of going back to what you were talking about with experience. Listen, Montana State is not a senior-laden team like Illinois State is. Coach Vigen's been there before, and I know that a lot of their players have been there before, but there's still a lot of sophomores, a lot of juniors. That's and I think he makes the difference there in their preparation. Their youth does not come across as far as being in mistakes because of the way that they're prepared. But let me get away from that. A good tight end makes all the difference in the world because he's hard to cover. If you can cover that tight end with a linebacker, you may as well just let him sit there and block, try and hook the end and run the sweep. But if and that kid does, he's a big target. He's got great hands. He gets across, gets to his spot, and literally, I'm like you. I think he may make a difference in the ballgame.
Yeah, I really do. Brent, any thoughts on the offense? Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, really quickly about the tight end play. 3rd and 2. If there's any 4th down plays, red zone plays. Nathan, we did a high school game together, and I think one of the things I mentioned in the game, leaky tight ends. It's amazing how much trouble defensive coordinators have inside the red zone covering a leaky tight end, whether it's, just on a delayed leak out to the flat and just getting to the goal line. Watch for that in those scenarios. Those got to have it 3rd down plays. If it's 3rd and 3, just a quick little curl from the tight end. Make yourself big and get the 1st down and keep the chains moving. So conversion plays and red zone plays. That's going to be a huge point of emphasis, I think, for Montana State in the national championship game. It's going to come from the tight end position. And I think as well, if they can not have to worry about it, if they can control Illinois State with the front base with their 5 down, then that includes a wealth of options, a plethora of options for them in the tight end game. You can have one stay in the block and use that to dominate the run game, and then as they're throwing extra guys in there, then you can use the tight end to get big gainers in the passing game off a little bit of play action as well.
All right, let's go ahead and take a look at the defense. As we mentioned, 18 points per game allowed. That is 8th in the nation. Their passing defense only allowing to a little over 200 passing yards per game. Rushing defense, 14th in the nation, 116 yards. Total defense, they're allowing just under 320 yards per game. The names, Cole Taylor and Caden Dowler and Bryce Grieve, who had that huge interception. Kenneth Eden IV and Hunter Parsons, also a very, very talented linebacker there for Montana State. I think this is obviously, we're looking at this as the run game. Justin Lamson's been amazing. I think in the trenches, defenses win championships. That defense has got to play extremely well. So I'm fired up about watching this team play. Coach Jackson, defense for Montana State. Caden Dowler, was anyone in doubt that Coach Vigen said he's not out, ruled out yet? That's right. What coaches do. But even without Caden Dowler, they've got a load of players and a very experienced defensive line.
Yeah, good size, good speed, good strength. Those guys eat. They literally they hunt as a pack too. So I'm like you. I'm excited to see them play.
The chat's making fun of my AI because some of the players don't look like they're supposed to. Guys, just it's okay. It's okay. Brandon, thoughts on Montana State's defense before we wrap up?
Yeah, I think the most important thing is that linebacking core. If they're able to play in front of them, keep the action in front of them, then it's a good day. That means the defensive line's getting that pressure, and they're rallying against guys, out of the backfield, or they're keeping number 2 with short, shallow routes in front of them. If you're seeing their nameplates, if you're the Tommy Rittenhouse, then you feel confident if you're the Redbirds. I think that's the big thing. If those guys are able, and it's going to come with the defensive line first and that second level. And we talked about a 4-2-5. It can be disguised as a 3-3-5 stack. It can be disguised as a 4-3. It can be disguised a multitude of ways. You can rush 5 easily and then drop. You can create a lot of different scenarios that at the line of scrimmage, Tommy Rittenhouse is going to have to deal with and identify. As long as that's happening, that's great. But if these guys are having to turn and run and pursue, not a good day. I don't care. I will take, Illinois State 2-3 yards running game. I will take their receiver coming across the middle for shallow gains, of 3-4 yards. That's fine. Do that all day. The thing that I don't want is 18, 19 yards because, we've had to commit so many guys forward that now they have to turn and run and pursue. So I think that linebacking core is going to be really big to watch early in the game in the first, 20 minutes of the game, first quarter, 5 minutes into the second quarter. If they are hunting, moving forward, attacking the ball, it's going to be a good day for the Bobcats.
Yeah, there is some weather moving through that Tennessee area. Coach Jackson, I imagine you guys are preparing for some temperatures in the 20s coming up. But it looks like on game day, it's going to be in 40s, maybe 50s for that kickoff. So
we
I'm
get
not
it.
So sure.
It's not cold by Montana standards. You don't have to blow up the chat and Twitter and all this about it's not cold.
Yeah,
we get it. You guys are used to cold.
Yeah,
Montana State and Illinois State, they'll be fine. In the weather.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Listen, guys, what a joy tomorrow. Hey, yes, sir, Coach. Yes.
Somebody in the chat asked about the best bars in town, and again, if Montana State and Illinois State, listen, there's not a bad bar in Nashville. All you got to do is make your way to Broadway and take your pick. There's a bunch. There's a lot to choose from. Good food too.
Oh, cold front, Kobe. They're talking about the Bobcat cold front coming through. Well, Kobe, there is a cold front. It was 78 degrees in Atlanta Christmas Eve, a record high, and it was 75 on Christmas Day. It was. Oh, I freaking hate it. I was gonna actually ask.
Peg leg pork or barbecue.
Dude. That's down in. There's one in Murfreesboro and one in Franklin.
Yeah. I think someone actually put in the chat the peg leg, the barbecue.
Oh, phenomenal. Let's see if there's anything.
And he really is peg leg too.
That's good to know.
Yeah, he really is.
He puts his wooden leg in there on the grill to flavor the meat. I was going to ask Coach. I am trying. Sweet Elizabeth is unbelievable, and because we're engaged now, right? So we're talking about wedding and what that's going to look like, and I'm like, let's move north where there's seasons. I can't handle the 78-degree Christmas. I want seasons where it's not in the winter. It's cold, in the spring it's nice, in the summer it's hot, in the fall it gets cooler. And I was going to ask, give me the Coach Jackson, your question, which you always do is, Coach Vigen, give me some recruiting. You're recruiting someone from the south up to the north because I need to get the Sweet Elizabeth to come on up to the north. She's from Macon, Georgia. She don't want to come north.
I guarantee you, if you look at his roster, there ain't a damn kid from Tennessee or there might be one from Florida or something. I don't know, but I'm going to guess the vast majority of his roster comes from that part of the cold country is what I imagine.
Yeah, no doubt. Kobe is going to come out and try some biscuits and gravy. Heck yeah. 3 years ago here, before it was Christmas, it was negative 66 without wind chill. All right, maybe not that far north. Maybe
all
not
you
that far.
Bozeman people that like to eat Loveless Cafe, you got to get there real early though. But if you're operating on mountain time, shouldn't be necessarily a big problem. There's a couple of Parlor Donuts, Five Daughters Bakery, some great donuts over there. That's closer towards Music Row. Listen, I spent a lot of time in Nashville, most of it drunk. So if anybody needs any bars and where to go, at B Joseph Radio on social media, you can send me a DM too if you don't want your wife or significant other kids to see that you're going out turning a couple back in Nashville.
Oh boy, I've told the story before, Coach Jackson. When Kennesaw State played Montana State, and I was going out there as part of the broadcast crew, we always look for places local to go, and we're like, we're gonna steak when we get to Montana. Let's go, and we went to the worst steakhouse. We let our friend the SID there pick it, and it ended up being the worst steakhouse. This is in a mall, and it was terrible. Everyone was telling us to go to Ted Montana's Grill.
The person who owns it may be in the chat. Why are you telling us it's in a mall? It's not like there's many malls in Bozeman.
I doubt it. It was in the Bozeman Mall, and it was terrible. I was trying to look up the name, but I don't even know if I should. I wanted to go to I think it was the Montana Chop House or whatever it was. Everyone was saying go to Ted's Montana Grill for the best steak in Bozeman, but
oh no.
Yeah, we have them in Atlanta. I've been to Ted's Montana Grill. Anyway, maybe we'll go out to Bozeman one day. Guys, you guys
we had awesome. Ted first.
He just bought all the land in Montana, whatever. Chat, you have been awesome. Viewership record numbers of live viewers. Chat over 100 chats in the thing. Thank you guys so much. So I don't think I got to all of them, but you guys have been absolutely awesome. Talking about Broadway and the mini Mardi Gras, the biscuits and gravy, Rocky Mountain oysters. I'd stay away from those. Those don't.
In Nashville, definitely.
Brandon, we may go up to Tennessee to watch the game with Coach Jackson. We haven't figured out what we're going to do yet, but we'll have to figure it out. You can DM Brandon Joseph at B Joseph Radio, Coach at GOS_Ron, Coach_Ron, me at McCreary Radio. Thank you guys so much. Tomorrow we have Coach Spack on the show. We're going to talk to their SID. Illinois State will dedicate a show to them as well. So all those Montana State fans, you guys tune in. It should be a good one.
Learn
guys,
how Illinois State can beat you tomorrow on the pod.
That's right. Stay tuned tomorrow, 9 p.m., 8 Central, 7 Mountain. You guys have been awesome. Brandon, Coach, we'll see you tomorrow. Thank you guys so much. This has been the FCS Checkdown for Brandon Joseph, for Coach Ron Jackson. I'm Nathan McCreary. Say so long. Let's go. See you tomorrow.